I'm an elementary school teacher. Nice to meet you.
Okay, thank you, Peggy. Yijun.
Good morning, Sarah. I'm Yijun. I'm elementary school teacher. I teach PE. Nice to meet you.
Okay. So Sarah, do you know PE? You go also call PE?
Like physical education?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Zhenxian.
Hello. Hello, I'm Zhen Xian. Nice to meet you. I live in Danshui. Danshui is the north of Taiwan, and I'm an elementary school teacher. It's an honor to see you.
Okay, so Sarah never been to Taiwan, right?
No, I have not yet.
Danshui is a very good place, and some of our teachers work there. And it's a coast city, and it's also a very beautiful river. Danshui is mean fresh water. Yeah.
Ooh.
So you have to go
visit.
there.
As soon as quarantine is lifted, I will be over to visit.
Yeah, it'll be very soon. I think it'll be open our border very soon, and it's just 1 hour flight, and it's also very low cost, and yeah, you have to come to Taiwan after this summer.
Yes.
Okay, 琪琪。亲戚有听到吗？有，没有开麦克风？
哦，sorry， 我的麦没开，不好意思。
Okay, please. 哎，亲戚可以吗？刚刚没听到，再一次。
那子有听到吗？
有。
哦，不好意思。Good morning, Sarah. Everybody. My name is Joanna. Middle school teacher. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Joanna. And Zing.
Morning, Sarah. I'm an elementary school teacher. My name is Zhi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And Zhen Qi.
Hi, Sarah. Good morning. My name is Zhen Qi. I am elementary school teacher.
Okay. Su Juan.
Hello, I'm Iris. Nice to meet you. I'm elementary school teacher. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Iris. Liu.
Hello, Sarah. Good morning. And I'm an elementary school teacher, and I teach music. Nice to meet you.
Okay, thank you. And Brian.
Hello, Sarah. I'm Brian. I'm an elementary science teacher. And nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Brian also work in Marine Science Education Center. Yeah, that's the same as you. Meg.
Nice.
Yeah, Meg Jing.
Good morning, Sarah. I'm Megan, and nice to see you here. And I work for in elementary school.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. All right, show you. Show you are mute. 麦克风没开哦。
Good morning, Sarah. My name's Karen. Nice to meet you. I'm a kindergarten school teacher. Thank you.
Okay. Karen is the manager of the kindergarten. Yes. Originally working in the same city. Now we'll move back to a home county in Miaoli, middle of Taiwan. Okay, 嘉辉。
Hello, Sarah. Nice to meet you. I'm elementary school teacher. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, 佩如。
Hello. Hello, Sarah. My name is Bonnie, and nice to meet you. And I work in education department of the Keelung City government, and my job is about physical education, competitive sports, and water activities. Thanks.
Yes, and Bonnie is a little special because he's officers of our city governments and in charge of the water activities and also the budgets and also support the physical education about marine education. So it's quite important to promoting marine experiential learning. Okay, and 下一个嘉豪。
Good morning, I'm Mark. Nice to meet you. I'm elementary school teacher in Yellow Elementary School. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and Mark is our class leader and also work in Yale. And Yale is the specialty for the geopark and the most famous geopark. So their school is a very special characteristic for marine education curriculum, and they have a lot of field trips and students know more about the fishing villages and connected to the ocean, and it's a very good samples of the marine education class. And Yingyan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eva. I am a preschool teacher. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Yeah. It's Yingyan is a colleague of Zhao Wen next, and they are kindergarten teachers preschool. And Zhao Wen.
Hello，有看到我吗？
哦。
Hello, I'm kindergarten teacher. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, and Zhao Wen is just a new baby. Have a new baby is a new mother, so taking care of the baby is pretty good. And she's the colleague with Yingyan, so they can be our kindergarten always have two teachers, and they are very good partners, cooperate and study here. Okay, and Claire. Claire. Yijin. Junyi. Claire, later you can introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Junyi.
Hello, Sarah. My name is Junyi. I'm a government employee. My job is to inspect ship. Thank you.
Okay, Junyi is also another officer in charge of the vessels, ship, fishing vessels, detectives and inspection. So in charge of the safety check of the fish. Claire, please.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Ray. I'm Claire, and I'm a public elementary school teacher, and I teach in English, the grade 6 students. Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Okay, Yixin. You are mute. 你的静音呢？要开麦克风。
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Yixin. I'm preschool teacher in Guasan. Nice to meet you, Sarah.
Okay. 肖玉，这是玉轩吗？
对，然后是我。
对，行。
Hello, Sarah. Good morning. I'm Xiao, and I'm a teacher in elementary school. And my older sister is work in Hong Kong, so I go to Hong Kong before every year, before the and I like Ding Dong very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Yuling.
Hi, Sarah. My name is Yuling. I know that you love to scuba diving, so welcome to Taiwan, and I will show you the best scuba diving in Keelung, and I will take you to eat the most yummiest food in Keelung.
Oh, thank you.
We have a lot of very beautiful coastline, and it's very popular for diving and scuba diving. And we have the other audience is Dr. Cho Kevin. 瑞坤，你要这个Dr. Cho, please introduce
Hi,
yourself.
Sarah. Hi, Professor Yan. I'm Kevin from National Museum of Marine Science Technology, and it's very nice to hear your talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin is in charge of marine science education too, like you are, and it's a the biggest marine science and technological museum. And Kevin's background is also oceanography and PhD of oceanography, and come back to study education. And so we are very good colleagues. Okay, so Sarah, we took some time and let you know our background, and we have a very diversity of our background, including we have the officers, and we have kindergarten, we have most of the primary school teachers, and some of them are English teachers. But this class is a marine education seminars, and let them know about different subjects of the marine education. So first class, and we invite Chiyoshi Sasaki, the president of EMEA, to join the class to share about the Japan experience. And the second class, we invite Harry from Australia, and to share about the connection of the social network, and also some practice of marine education from our local marine educator. And the third class, we invite Mike Springer from Florida University, and he shares some connection with the oceanography connected to the community education. So the final class, we'll invite Sarah Taylor, and Sarah is the chair of our training and education committee of Asia Marine Educator Association. Actually, I met Sarah in 2019 in China, and Sarah is from North Carolina and studying in UK, and now is working in Hong Kong. And originally we arranged earlier, but Sarah go to Europe for a while, right? And come back, and it's very lucky that we can arrange the time and invite Sarah to share about the experience of working in Hong Kong, and especially the Harbour School. It's so special because it can be a informal and formal education, right? As I know, and you have students, and you in charge of the Marine Science Center, and to design the curriculums and the K-12 education. It's very new for our education system, because most of us is working in formal education, but some of us working informal. But it's the background is different, and we have to learn about the experience learning and the education system for private company, or it's for cooperate with public, and especially for marine education. So we will invite Sarah to share, and basically we can share until about 10 to about 1 hour, and we can keep some times and let the student to interact with you and ask you some question. So any question, please write down, and if you have a very immediate question, and please raise your hand. And Sarah, if you see someone raise a hand, and we can start and to answer the question immediately. And if necessary, I have to translate some key point for them. All right. So now let's welcome Sarah to share about your pressure experience, please.
All right, so my name is Sarah Taylor, and I'm from the United States. I'm from North Carolina, and I grew up in the mountains and then quickly moved to the beach when I was a teenager. And I fell in love with the ocean, animals, fishing, surfing, scuba diving, all that water sports. Went to college to study ocean science, went to Cambodia, and that's where I fell in love with Asia. And then after I went to Cambodia, I went back to continue my education in the UK. I met my partner, and I got a job offer in Hong Kong in 2017 to come run a marine science center, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity. So I've been running a marine science center for the past 5 years. The Marine Science Center is special because it also has an aquarium. I'm going to share my screen. So the main thing I'm going to talk about first is the curriculum. So basically the school, as you know, as your teachers, you have to follow whatever curriculum the admin or at your school has said. So you have curriculum standards depending on if it's, I guess you have a Taiwanese one, there's a local Hong Kong one. The school that I work at the Harbour School, we follow the US standards. So the next generation science standards is the science curriculum that we use. Changing curriculum can be really difficult. So you can't really change your curriculum, but you can add things onto it. So what I've been doing for the past 5 years is creating an ad hoc add-on curriculum to the current science curriculum. So that's what I'm going to go through first, and then I'll tell you about the aquarium and the different activities, the less formal education settings.
Sure. You want to share your screen? Did you?
Yeah. If you can, I'll be right back. I need to sign in on Google Chrome. 1 second.
这样子讲速度还可以吗？就是Sarah 这样子听得懂了 ，OK 哈，他等一下再分享他的荧幕。
Let me see if I can share now. All right. So I'm just going to share my tab. So we've presented at a couple conferences about this. So linking ocean literacy with curriculum standards. So I'm going to go through some classroom approaches into incorporating ocean literacy and inquiry-based lessons and current curriculum standards to activate learning. If I need to slow down at any point, I can't actually see the call. So just Ray, let me know if I need to slow down or if anyone has their hand raised, please.
Yeah, if possible, and you can speak slower, and yeah, we can understand more clearly. Thank you.
Sorry. So in primary and secondary education, most discussion in 21st century skills emphasize the need for schools to focus on skills such as creative thinking, curiosity, and collaboration. So working together, asking questions, and critical thinking. Developing children's competencies can be undertaken through active learning. So projects that harbor real world knowledge. So projects that at the end of it, they have a conclusion that is applicable to the real world.
Sarah, can you play the screen?
Sorry, can you not see me?
Can you play the screen and the slide? Can you play it? Slideshow.
I'll make it bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That would be better.
All right,
yeah, that's better. Thank you.
All right. So down here you can see some photos. These are some students in the lab doing a biodiversity lab where they can calculate the biodiversity. So how many different animals are in one area. This is us on a field trip with a quadrat. This is the square that they're holding. So you can also calculate biodiversity in the field, not just in the lab. And this picture is just we work a lot with NGOs and charities. So this is a Greenpeace boat, and we are working with like the plastic-free seas in Hong Kong. All right, so if you don't know anything about ocean literacy, which I think you will after having your other talks, I'm sure you've seen this picture before. So the scope and sequence for ocean literacy, there's basically 7 principles that encompass all parts of the ocean, so physical, biological, and social. So some case studies that like back up our knowledge is one, the effects of practical marine training on ocean literacy. So they showed that educational effectiveness of seaside nature experience activities on elementary and junior high school students, demonstrating that longer program, the more participants' interest in nature increased. So it's kind of easy one, you know, you take kids outside, obviously they're going to be more interested in nature. All right, another one from 2011 examined the effectiveness of ocean literacy programs on junior high school students and explained how experience-based classroom program to learn about the oceans developed in the US was effective in Japan as well. So it's all kids, it doesn't matter where you're from or where you live, all kids can gain a lot of information and a lot of appreciation for nature from marine science initiatives. All right, some history about the Marine Science Center. We officially opened in 2018. So the Marine Science Center is an aquarium and lab facility focused on outreach and education. We have a touch tank. We have lots of many different fish tanks with coral, jellyfish, eels, sharks, lots of different animals. And through our education and outreach, the Marine Science Center has provided a scientific perspective of the world. So students come in and they not only are, getting to touch animals and look at fish, but they're getting some scientific method practice. They're going on field trips. They're learning things in the field. I'm sure some of you have, the marine science teachers already in here have done stuff like this before. So in integrating marine science into the school curriculum, so we incorporate marine science into existing science curricula. So you don't need to change the science curriculum. You can just add in some marine science because basically all science can be linked back to marine science. Later on, I know not everyone is a science teacher, but you can incorporate ocean literacy in other ways, not just through science that I'll go over later. So ocean literacy principles are covered at each grade, and we link their subjects to marine science. So these are the principles the questions that we try to answer for each grade. We've scaffolded it to make it from simple to a little bit more difficult. So starting in pre-K, kindergarten, and pre-K and kindergarten at the Harbour School is combined, so 4 and 5-year-olds. So what is water and what water is around us? Which is very simple. And then grade 1, it gets a little bit more difficult. What kind of place is the ocean? What plants and animals live there? And as you can see, it just gets a little bit more complicated up to grade 6, where they're just talking about weather and climate and then what they know about the ocean. All right, so these are our links. So this is our scope and sequence for the Marine Science Center. I can actually share these slides with you after, Ray, because each one of these is linked to an NGSS standard. I had a question for you. What kind of science curriculum do you have in Taiwan?
We have a marine education program, national curriculum. So let me explain about the NGSS for them a little. 那个 NGSS 是次世代的教育系统。那 so the NGSS is from US system, right?
Yes.
那这个是美国的次世代科学教育课程，所以他们会有一个科教的一个目标。所以海洋教育其实它是配合到次世代的教育系统这样。So what is MSC? Marine Science OK， 那另外一个就是海洋科学课程，那就对应 NGSS。美国系统基本上他们都对应这个次世代教学系统了。那对我们来讲就是科教的系统这样子。Okay, so Taiwan we have national curriculum of the marine education, and mostly is social science 60% and 40% for social nature science. Yeah, please.
Amazing. So in Hong Kong or in the US, there is no national marine science curriculum. So the national next generation science standards are these broad topics, and each student is expected to understand these concepts after each grade. So in prep, and so that's kindergarten and pre-kindergarten, they are expected to understand these 3 topics. So forces and interactions, independent relationships and ecosystems, and weather and climate. So these aren't necessarily marine science. So the way that we incorporate this into their curriculum is they have lessons with us and the Marine Science Center. So some examples of lessons that we do is wind force on water. And I have some photos later to explain some simple exercises that you can do. Interdependent relationships. So we teach them about phytoplankton is the base of the marine food web. And then weather and climate, we talk about how rain actually comes from the ocean. In grade 1, we have, oh, sorry, do we have some questions? I can hear some dings.
Yeah, Sarah, let me, I would simply introduce about the scope and sequence for them, and they have the background of what you explained. 那刚刚讲到那个 scope and sequence 指的是到底我们要教哪一些范畴领域，那 sequence 是成次序，所以它是有阶段性的，它是我的议题是什么，那依据海洋素养，然后之后会阶段性的累积下来，就是我们一直在强调的这个系统，所以 scope and sequence 对他们来讲是很重要的，那这个也是台湾比较缺乏的。OK，thank you.
All right. So in grade 1, we talk about they need to learn about waves, so light and sound waves. So then we teach them about light and sound in the ocean. So how does light pass through water? How does sound pass through water? So it gets really fun. We talk about whale songs and how whales can communicate over 500 miles underwater because sound travels faster through water. So we do little experiments in the MSc. So we just basically are linking whatever the science topic is to an ocean science or something about water. All right, so for structure, function, and information processing. So let me just give you an example. I'll just click on it. Can you see the new tab that popped up?
Yeah.
You can see the wave and light sounds?
Yes.
So this is the next generation science standards. So they have all the different scaffolding, so all the different things that they need to understand by the end of the class. So then that's how we link in to the link to marine science. Okay, so structure, function, and information processing. So we talk about seeds to plants and then the difference between seagrass and algae. And these are not hard concepts. We simplify them a lot. I can give you some examples later. In grade 2, they start talking about the scientific method. So the first thing in the scientific method is making observations and then asking questions. So they learn about, you can't just do an experiment. You have to first make an observation, ask a question, form a hypothesis. So they're starting that as early as grade 2. Grades 3 and 4, we have forces and interactions. So we talk about, that's where we introduce them to the water cycle, air and water density, and we have a weather lab. So we actually have a weather meter on the roof, and the students take turns collecting data and comparing it to water parameters. Earth systems, we have a stream table, which is a table where you put different types of sediment in it, and it's at an angle, so they can see sediment transport and river dynamics. And biological evolution, we talk about adaptation and evolution, and we have horseshoe crabs and sharks in the Marine Science Center. But then we also have labs that don't involve animals that still talk about adaptation and evolution.
Sarah, can you go back to the previous page? And I experienced a little about the NGSS. 那你会看到 NGSS 的系统里面呢，它其实不是全部都强调知识概念，它有一些强调能力，就是他们因为知识在教育系统里面有一些是强调你的能力，包含了像2年级有科学方法啊，然后工程设计啊，然后结构啊，或者是这一些东西，对他们来讲，他们海洋教育是一个议题，那它是一个内容，但是回去到这个工程教育，就是科学教育的本质，你要学的到底是什么样的技能，就是我们谈的素养啦，只是他们会更强调于做实验的一个技能这样子。Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, the NGSS standards are, if you want to be recognized as an American education center, so a school that has American curriculum, you have to follow these standards. So they actually have people that come around and check your curriculum. So if you're not following these standards, you don't qualify to be an American school, right? So that's why we can't actually change the curriculum. We still have to meet all of the NGSS standards, but then that's why the MSc has added on these lessons. That makes sense.
Yeah, Sarah, I have questions. Your student is mostly a Hong Kong student or American?
I would say it's about 60% local kids and 40% international kids. Maybe like 20% American, and then the rest is European, African, Australian, South American. So we have a very wide range of people from different places.
So they will go to American to study their college or senior high school, are they?
Yeah, either the UK or America usually.
So mostly will go abroad to study.
Yes,
Okay,
for their college, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so then I'll just continue grade 4. They talk about energy, waves, and Earth's place in the universe. So then we can start talking. So energy is really interesting. So how are you supposed to link with grade 4? Obviously, you can, it's a little advanced, talk about wave energy, creating renewable energy. So we found a really cool link where we talk about the electromagnetic field of the Earth and how animals can recognize it. And then how, especially how sharks and stingrays, they can actually have a sixth sense. And we also have sharks and stingrays in the Marine Science Center, so it's interesting for them to actually see these organs on the shark. And then we also talk about electric animals. So then we link it to makerspace or STEAM. They actually get to make an animal out of Play-Doh, and then they connect that to a circuit so that the animal actually glows and has like a little light on it. So lots of like everything that you're reading in the MSc lesson area is all like something hands-on. It's not just a lesson, it's something that they're doing either out in the field or in the lab. Right, and then grades 5 and 6, we have matter, energy, and organisms and ecosystems, which is a replay of what they did in grade 1, but it's more advanced in grade 5. So at grade 5, we have this amazing cross-curricular project where all grade 5 students build a buoy. They build an ocean buoy, and then they put that buoy out in the water to collect parameters such as salinity, solar radiation, temperature, and pH. So with these sensors, they then collect the buoy and they can take the data. So it's across with our other centers in the school, which is the makerspace, where they get to build things. So encompasses engineering, design, and the matter, energy. So all 3 of these are done throughout the year together in one project, right? And they are taken out of class for a week each term to work on this project.
Sarah, sorry, I simply introduce about the ocean buoy for them. Okay. 那个你看到那个5年级有一个 Ocean Buoy， 那个是一个浮标，就是它在海上的监测浮标，所以他们会让他们去收集刚刚讲到的，收集那个盐度啊、湿度啊，对吧？盐度，然后水流这一些，那它就会有及时的一个科学资讯，所以他们会从这里面去学习工程科技的应用。所以在讲 STEAM 的时候，在工程科技上会实际去采用，跟我们比较不一样，是我们比较是概念性的，例如说做模型啊，或者是这一些就是透过什么 DIY 模组，我们大部分是在这个层级，但是他们那边会实际的去有一些监测的数据来做串接。那这个我们之前曾经有想要把它导引进来，但是又很复杂，因为说这些都是科学研究用的，比较不会用在教育现场用，所以这个也是我们要克服的。所以那个部位其实对他们来讲就很重要。那之前也有设计让学生设计那种小型的部位的一个课程，这样。Thank you.
Okay, and then grade 6, we have weather, climate again. So back from, I think, prep, they had weather and climate, so then they revisited again in grade 6. So this is where we do a density lab, which is really fun in the classroom. And for the growth, development, and reproduction of organisms, we do comparative anatomy. So they can compare a squid and a fish to what they learned about the human anatomy by doing dissections. And then they learn about human impacts, which is a huge topic. So obviously for pollution in the ocean. And we have lots of different field trips and labs that we do for pollution in the ocean. So just some examples of just really simple stuff that we do. So wind effects on water. So these are our prep kids. So they're ages 4 and 5. And you just take a tub of water, put a little bit of water in it, take some aluminum foil. Some of them you bunch up really, really, really tight and they sink. Some of them you leave a bit loose and they float. All you really need is something that floats and something that sinks. And then they have a little contest where they use their wind from their mouth and they blow the pieces back and forth. And this is just a really simple way to show how ripples are created, how waves are created, how wind actually forms waves, how wind in the ocean is why there's waves on the shore. So it helps them connect what is happening with their mouth to the wind, and they can see that what effects it has on the ocean. So waves aren't just these magical things that come into the shore. They're actually created by the wind, which I find really fun and simple. Plankton, so that we also do this with all the grades basically, but we have a compound microscope, and you can go to any pet store with aquarium supplies and buy frozen brine shrimp, and they just come in little packs, and you can put those into the microscope, and this is what you'll see. So this is a type of plankton, so this would be zooplankton, and then they can see how small it is, because you obviously can't see it with your eyes, and then you put it under the microscope. So for the young kids, it's really important for them to see plankton and understand that it's not just an enigma. It's an animal or it's a plant that's actually in the ocean. Light and sound through water. So really simple, it sounds difficult, but we just use some glass jars, metal chopsticks, and some water. And you can just put different levels of water in each jar, and they can hear the different sound that it makes, so that they know that the water is doing something to the sound. We also, in class, will listen to whale songs and talk about how whales can communicate over long distances. And for light through water, there's a really cool experiment. I don't have a photo of it, but if you use a round glass, and you use a piece of paper and you draw an arrow one way, and you put it behind the glass, the arrow will flip around because of the convection of the glass. So yeah, really just simple hands-on experiments that give the kids a connection to water. Oh yeah, so this is a really good representation of our school. So we got 2 Western kids, Indian, Chinese, big mix all the time. Right, so this is, so for marine food webs, we let the kids feed the animals so they can actually see what animals eat. So the sharks eat pieces of squid, pieces of shrimp. So they are apex predators. They eat the top of the food chain, whereas lots of our fish eat algae, spirulina type of algae. So they are primary consumers. And for this, if you don't have an aquarium, you can still go to the beach and collect a crab. And all you need is a crab and a rock with some algae on it, and you can show them that the crab is eating the algae. If you want to get a little bit more technical, you can get a bigger crab, and that bigger crab will usually eat the smaller crab. So then you can show them the secondary consumer in a marine food web. So our biodiversity lab, you can, as I showed in the first picture, these are students. They went out to a mud flat. They picked up some rocks with some oysters on them. They brought them back to the lab, and they just break them apart looking for any type of animal. So you find worms, crabs, snails, barnacles, and they separate them out depending on what type of animal they are. So then it's helping them identify animals. It's getting them out in the field. I'm not sure about Taiwan, but in Hong Kong, students don't go outside that much. And getting them out in the field, getting them muddy, making them use their hands is something completely foreign to them. And during it, they hate it, but then afterwards, they seem to really love it and want to go back out and do it again and again and again.
And Sarah, actually, we have a new project of outdoor education and marine education cooperation. So we have a huge budget now and encourage the student to go outdoor. And I think the next step is to go outdoor and go international, because 2030 is our bilingual national policy, and most of the school, they have to do the bilingual education, and including English and Chinese. So the outdoor education cooperate with marine education and bilingual education, the 3 cooperation, and should we go out to make a more cooperation with you and the Asia country and take the student to go outdoor. And we have some students come to from Hong Kong. It's a cruise ship. It's a middle school, and there are about 3,000 middle school students and come to Taiwan, and it's 1 day's trip including marine education. They go to the field trips and they go to the lab and to have the interaction. So I think the cross-nation cooperation with the outdoor activities and the marine education would be very rich for development in the future.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think Hong Kong is very, very behind with marine education. I can't speak for the local curriculum too much, but I do know that there, with the science teachers that I know in Hong Kong that do teach at local schools, there is no marine science curriculum for local schools. Yeah, so Hong Kong is way behind and Taiwan is way ahead. So maybe Hong Kong can learn some stuff from Taiwan. So this was the comparative anatomy lab. So you can go to any wet market and get some squid, some shrimp, a fish, and all you need is a pair of scissors. You don't need all the dissecting stuff you would need for a land animal, because squid are quite easy to cut up. And the same with fish, you just need to cut them in one place and you can see all their organs. So then we talk about their circulatory system, respiratory system, and then they can compare that to their what they've learned about in human anatomy and science. So they have an appreciation for the fact that we are actually way more similar to fish than we could have realized, and that squid and octopus and shrimp are so wildly different. And that's where they really get an appreciation for, 97% of all animals are invertebrates, and humans are only part of the 3% of vertebrates. So actually we think humans rule the world, when in reality there are way more animals without backbones that can have completely different bodies out there than there are humans. Okay, so field trips. So we try to go on field trips each week if we can, with a different grade group. So different field trips we go on quite often are the wetland park. We go to sandy and rocky shores so they can compare the biodiversity, they can compare what they find. This is a picture of students on a sailboat. They go and do like sail racing sometimes, and we incorporate lots with the sailing clubs. We'll incorporate marine science classes. This bottom picture, they're out in the field in a mud flat trying to find baby horseshoe crabs and identifying different crabs. We also we have mangroves in Hong Kong, and so we go to, not very many, but we do go to the mangroves. We go on international trips, as you were talking about, Ray. So our school, pre-COVID, every year, all students above the age of 11 go on an international trip. So California and Malaysia are some of the big ones that we really enjoyed, but they've also been to Africa, Borneo, Japan, China. So they go all over the world, even Europe, for these different projects. We've also had the pleasure of participating in an arms project, which is for the Smithsonian in the US through Hong Kong University, which is where they got most of their practice for biodiversity. So they do biodiversity lab and they collect. Ray, can you explain, do you know what ARMS is? The Autonomous Reef Monitoring Structure. So Smithsonian have placed these little houses all over the world so they can measure the biodiversity of the microfauna and flora, so the tiny,
Yeah, we have the similar system, but we cooperate with Japan to do the sampling. Nice. Yeah, in the sand sampling, and mostly it's microplastic and it's much more popular. But biodiversity is the core watch. The core watch. It's leading from our museum. It's from Kevin's museum, and they have core watch to cooperate with international cooperation. But microplastic is cooperate with Japan.
Oh, nice. Okay, so field surveys, they sound complicated, especially if you're not a science teacher, but they're very, very simple. You can just take out measuring tape, and then the kids walk along the measuring tape and see what animals they find next to it, right? So at 10 meters, there was a snail. At 11 meters, there was an oyster. At 12 meters, there was this. And they just walk back and forth down the transect. Same with quadrats. Quadrat is just a square that you can place on the floor, and they calculate how many animals they find in each square. So these are very, my whole job, my whole passion in life is making ocean science less difficult to teach, because it seems very overwhelming. I work with teachers all the time and they get very overwhelmed that I don't know this. I didn't study science, but I want to make it easier for teachers to understand that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a scientist. You can just go out and take measurements, and it's still a survey, right? Your students are still technically conducting a survey if they're writing down information while they're looking at stuff outside. This is more about the ARMS project, but we've already talked about that. Okay, so I know most of you are primary teachers, but the Marine Science Center also supports lots of high school research projects. So we had a student win third place in a youth international conference, and she took 2 different aquariums or 2 different tanks and had 2 different pieces of the same coral, a local Hong Kong coral, and she changed the temperature and and found that coral, that species of coral, was more resistant to climate change than other corals in Hong Kong that are no longer found in Hong Kong. So what she found is basically the corals that are left in Hong Kong are the ones that are the most resilient and most resistant to change, which makes sense because Hong Kong is quite polluted. So our school is very lucky. We have a boat. We have it's called the Black Dolphin. It's a 50-foot sailboat. And the students, this is why we work with a lot of the sailing clubs doing sailing and marine science. So we're able to use this vessel to collect real data, use real instruments, and we are out in nature, out in the open air. And if you've ever been sailing on a very old boat like this, it is not relaxing. It's very stressful. You have to always be doing stuff. It's not just sitting on a boat. You have to actually physically sail it and pull ropes. So it's really good for the students because it gets them out in the field. It puts them in uncomfortable situations so that they can be a better person as an adult. So we have a plankton net. These are very, very easy to come by. You can order them. And we use it on the back of the boat to collect plankton samples. But even through COVID, we weren't allowed to go on the boat. So we actually found that if you're on a dock and you just walk back and forth across the dock for about 5 minutes, you can still collect a plankton sample from shore. You don't need to be on a boat to collect a plankton sample. So this net is a fine mesh and all the water escapes, but any tiny little particles get collected in the bottom reservoir. So you not only catching plankton, but you're also catching microplastics. So you can do lots of different things with plankton net as far as measuring phytoplankton, zooplankton, or even plastic pollution.
Yeah, Sarah, did you open the lesson plan to the public or other students out of your class?
I have the basics, but the in-depth lesson plans I can't release because they're school property, intellectual property. But if anyone wants to email me personally, I can share like individual lessons. I just can't publish all of our lesson plans online, if that makes sense.
So most of your lesson plan is not open for open registration from others, like summer camp or other styles of education.
Yeah, they're not open to the public, but as I mentioned, like if anyone sees something they want to try and they want my lesson plan, just email me and I can send it to them personally. I just can't publish online for the intellectual property reasons for our school.
Yeah, I mean, if the Hong Kong student would like to join your program, do you have the program for opening others to going to your lesson plan or like to go out the Black Dolphin? Do you have the project to open to other public to join your lesson plan?
Yes, we have camps. They're not free, but we do have camps for anyone in Hong Kong, any students. They do have to speak English because I don't speak Chinese. And they come, so we have fish camps during the summer where we take kids out on the Black Dolphin every week. And we also do them during October break, winter break, Easter break. So basically the school is open all year round. And if we're not running school, then we're running these programs, these summer camp programs that are all marine science based.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question because like Taiwan's and we have some students working in the experiment school and they want to take the student to go to the international exchange to Hong Kong, and maybe they can register for your programs and cooperate with you, and it be open for others to join the lesson plan. And maybe in the future, I mean, international corporations, and they can go to Hong Kong to have the serious sections of marine education. And students is not only the field trips, but also join your lesson plan. It's like that program. Yeah.
Definitely. And COVID has put a lot of things on halt for us. So like teacher trainings, we wanted to start, but then COVID, we had to put it all on hold. So next school year, we will be having teacher trainings for local Hong Kong teachers, and then hopefully can branch out. And then also, yes, like international field trips for students. I hope that that can be something that happens in the 22-23 school year. Okay, so some outcomes. Obviously, they have a deeper understanding of local species and importance. So if you can see in his hand, he's holding a baby horseshoe crab. And this is actually the mangrove horseshoe crab, which is the most endangered. So we've put it back, obviously, but they have a new appreciation for, okay, if you see animals, it's okay to look, but you always leave them where they are. And application of science skills to see nature from a different perspective. So they don't just look at a mud flat and see, ew, gross, a mud flat. Now they look at a mud flat and they're like, ooh, I wonder what's out there. I wonder if I can go explore it. And they're not afraid to get muddy or dirty. So they have a better identification of species. So a lot of students, they don't know the difference between a crab and an oyster, right? And then after doing our classes and being part of the school, they have a clear understanding of what these animals look like, how they're different, and what their roles are in the ecosystem. Right, so we've also seen that a huge improvement in teamwork, going out in the field, being put into groups. A lot of times we use this as social and emotional practice. So you put one student in charge of the group and you make them all give each other jobs. So, okay, you're gonna collect the data, I'm gonna hold the line, you're gonna look at the animals. So each student having a different role within their team. It really improves teamwork and students engage with their classmates. Okay, so this is just a shout out. If anybody would like to reach out and share between classrooms over Zoom, I would be happy to have one of our classes of any grade communicate with your classroom, and they can share their experience, they can share their knowledge. Our students are quite marine science inclined, but I'd be interested to know, because Taiwan has their own marine science curriculum, how their knowledge compares and how their opinions compare about different ocean issues. And even if you're not near the ocean, you can compare terrestrial world with the marine world. So, if you're up in the mountains in Taiwan, you can still compare biodiversity, plants, animals. How is it different, especially for the younger grades? It's really interesting. Okay, so some advice for field work. So taking scientific data doesn't need to be complicated. The students can use quadrats and transects anywhere that there is nature. Even in urban areas, and there's a tiny little plot garden, you can still calculate the biodiversity of that tiny little plot of bushes. Okay, so there's really easy calculators online for biodiversity, so you don't actually have to do math, because I'm terrible at math. And it just shows the students a different side of, you don't have to be this super intelligent scientific person to go out and collect data and do science. There's a really good app called iNaturalist to help you identify species. You can actually, they have lots of resources online where you can create entire classes around iNaturalist. And then you buy local field guides with the local flora and fauna. That's an obvious one, but if you have a Taiwan, I'm sure you have like local field guides to what plants are in the area, what animals are in the area, what fish are in the area. And these are amazing resources for kids, because you can just have loads in your classroom, go on a field trip, tell the kids to get out their field guide, and they can try to identify it themselves if they see something. All right, so organize my suggestions for anyone that's trying to have more marine science in their classroom. So organize activities to farms, gardens, salt marshes, lakes, rivers, to observe nature and organism and their relationships. Observe how humans interact with nature and how they rely on it. So just because you take kids to a farm, you can talk about how does that farm affect the ocean. They might not understand that at first, but hopefully by the end, they can understand that actually anything that is put on a farm runs off into the ocean. So if you use pesticides, if you use fertilizer, all of that will eventually go into the ocean. So learn about water cycles. So collect water with a rain gauge. They can observe the clouds. They can observe where water goes. These are things that we do on campus. So we'll actually, if it's raining outside and we can't go on a field trip, we'll go outside and actually collect how much rain is falling. They'll observe the clouds, take notes of what colors, what formations, and then observe where's the water going? Is it going, which drains is it going down? Where do you think these drains lead? So anything outside you can turn into a science experiment or a science observation. Microscopes, I highly suggest get some microscopes, even if it's just one that you can let the students use. There's lots of camera attachments, so you can actually put what you see on your microscope on the screen, and you can look at water samples, leaves, soil, worms, anything you want. And this is just a small suggestion, but you could have a small tank in your classroom, and then you could, or a worm farm, or you could even just grow seeds. So any type of nature and the bringing it into the classroom is always going to enhance their interest in nature. All right, so these are just some kids on a field trip. So this is on the Shenzhen border. You can see Shenzhen in the background, actually. And this is a really famous mud flat, and you can see mangroves growing in the background. This is low tide, and it almost looks like you can walk to Shenzhen. And then out floating in the water, these are all the oyster farms. And these are ancient, like 300-year-old oyster farms that are culturally important to Hong Kong. Okay, so that is the end of that portion. I just have a quick thing. If you are interested in, or if you are teaching your marine science and you want to see if it's working, we do a lot of ocean literacy surveys at our school. So we'll do one at the beginning of the year and one at the end of the year. We also do lots of outreach activities where we go to yacht clubs or the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts Club, and we'll give them the survey before the lesson, and then we give them the survey a couple weeks after the lesson, and we see like what kind of difference, if they've actually improved their ocean literacy at all from our lessons. So this is just a quick survey. So from the Harbour School, so our kids range from like 11 to 20 mostly. And these are just some examples of questions. So how important is the ocean to human life? You know, so 5 is the like super important, 1 is not important at all. So you can see how most students, 78% of them said it's crucially important. How important is it to protect the ocean? So our students said 83%. When we gave this similar survey to another school, it was much lower. So most people put 3, 2. It was very interesting to see the differences. So then some other examples of questions for ocean literacy. You know, a horseshoe crab is more related to are they more related to a clam, a sea star, a shrimp, or a fish? And the correct answer is shrimp. So you can see that our students, all 66% of them got that right. So these are not results from a proper study. I was just giving you guys examples of different questions you can ask to survey your students. So should you study marine biology only if you want to become a scientist? 75% said disagree, thank goodness. So like marine biology is not just for scientists, it can be for anyone, right? Learning more about the ocean is crucially important for our future. So the results of having a marine science center since 2018, so there's an increased interest in science. So students normally who are not interested in science have joined our classes and show great interest and ability. They've shown a realization that everything is connected to the ocean and we depend on it for survival. Ocean literate students, so students are now aware of the 7 ocean literacy principles. They have a deeper knowledge of marine ecosystems and organisms. They have a deeper respect for all living creatures, and they have an increased willingness to work in teams and to help each other. And actually, back to the first point, I made this presentation last year, but we recently, our test scores in science are the best in the international schools, and they've increased about 20% in the past 5 years. And we didn't even really think about using the school test results, like our placement test, as an indicator that the science interest has increased, but our school is now scoring in the best percentile for science scores. And I don't want to take all the credit, but I think that the Marine Science Center has helped that, because students, when they walk into the school, they know that there are aquariums and fish and sharks, and they know that they get to go and do these fun field trips, and they get to go out in the field. So science isn't something that is just in a book or in a classroom. Science is fun. And that's the main thing, that when you ask our students, like, oh, what's your favorite class? Oh, science. Why? Well, because you get to go outside, you get to go do fun, you get to go in nature, you get to do experiments, you get to do projects. And that is the most heartwarming part for me. So these are just some of the different NGOs that we work with in Hong Kong. I'm sure that and I'm not sure if you have the Nature Conservancy in Taiwan, but they're amazing for if you want to go on field trips and you don't have the background or you don't have the ideas. The Nature Conservancy and WWF, they offer amazing field trips to schools for free, at least in Hong Kong. I would hope so as well in Taiwan. You would have some outlets like that. So reach out to local NGOs, and usually they'll be more than happy to offer free field trips, free educational seminars, and actually come and bring it to you, even in the classroom. So we've had the Nature Conservancy, Oceana, Greenpeace, WWF, they've all come to the classroom, and we've all gone out in the field with them. And some really cool, so Gizmos, if you've never used it, I'm not sure if they have it in Chinese, but Gizmos is, if you're teaching virtual ever again, it's an amazing resource. As well, I also gave this during a virtual conference. So the Pear Deck is an amazing virtual tool where you can it's engagement while you're giving the lesson. Yeah, and Gizmos is like experiments that you can play out virtually. It's really interesting. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. That's a very good presentation, because for us, that you have a totally American system of marine education, and yeah, it's for us. Most of the students, we don't really familiar with the American systems of education, because Asian education system is to teaching them about knowledge you have to know. So we have a very strict curriculum, and that teacher have to following the textbook and following the curriculum, and teacher just transfer profession's knowledges. And who make the profession knowledges is the professors to edit the textbook, and teachers is kind of be a mediator to bring the content and give them the examination, because we have a lot of exam, the Asian system. So that is it's totally different. And I know that I have some experience about the American education system, and it can inspire the students their own interest. And now we are changing from teacher orientation to student orientation in this decade, and that is pretty important. So some of them have proposed some questions, and maybe we can you can share about your experience. And 同学还有问题的，可以在留言区你先留下来，我会帮你问。All right, the first question is from Brian. Brian is working in the Marine Science Education Center too, and he is the teachers of nature, and he want to ask, is your lesson plan is individual courses, or it's a theme, it's a series of the course? Because in Taiwan we don't have marine subject, and most of the marine issues have to emit it into like the nature class or the literatures or society or physical education courses. So and that is the potential is it's pretty low, and students just get a piece of knowledge and piece of the course in different subjects. It's not easy to accumulate, build up the score and sequence. So his question is, what is your system to teaching marine science to students?
That's a great question, actually. I didn't really cover that. So we take the students out of their science lesson for a week during each term. We have 3 terms. Each term is 12 weeks. So 1 week of that 12 weeks, we take them out of their science and we teach them our specific marine science link to their science. Now, each one is built upon another. So at the beginning of the slideshow, it was the ocean literacy principles. So each lesson is like a week-long program with different experiments and different things they can do. Not the whole week, it's just during their science lessons. So basically like 4 hours out of all of their science lessons, they come to the Marine Science Center and we teach them the link to their science. That is then each year we want to teach them a little bit more advanced. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, but no, it's not like its own class. Like grade 1 doesn't only study light and sound in the ocean. They're studying light and sound waves, and then they come to the Marine Science Center for a week to learn about light in the ocean, sound in the ocean. And then they go back to their regular science class where they continue the rest of the unit on light and sound. Does that make sense?
So the Marine Science Centers, they will stay there for you mean a whole system, like 12 weeks?
No. So they stay in their classroom, and then for 1 week they come to the Marine Science Center to learn the add-on of the link.
How many hours? How many hours?
4 hours.
4 hours
per
week.
term.
So,
So
4
let's
hours.
say
4 hours a term.
for a term. So it's not actually that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you say, the score and sequence is depends on their age, right? Their grade to decide the course. So how far away from your Marine Science Center is at their classroom?
Oh, it's in the school. It's in the school. Yeah, so they just come downstairs because we're on the ground floor. So yeah, so for instance, like grade 5, they do that really intensive project. So in term 1, they go. We have also a makerspace. Is that translating? Makerspace?
Yes, makerspace.
Okay. Yeah. So they have a makerspace. So they'll go in the foundry in the morning and they'll build a buoy, and then they'll come to the Marine Science Center in the afternoon and they'll learn about sensors and they'll learn about salinity and water parameters. And then the next week, and then so they'll do that for a week. And then the next term, they'll actually go out on the boat and they'll place their buoy. And that'll be like a week of classes out on the boat. So it's very flexible and very fluid, I would say is a good word. But basically they still, like you guys, the teachers cannot change the curriculum. They have to take what the curriculum says to teach, and they have to teach it. So the school has programmed in these extra weeks of, we call it the centers of excellence. So we have the Marine Science Center, we have the Makerspace, and we have the boat. So those 3 places, we have extra weeks in our curriculum in our school year for students to go out and do these links to ocean science, to STEM activities. So it's not part of it's not part of the U.S. curriculum. It's something that our school specifically has added to our curriculum.
So how many students do you have in your school?
I think around 400.
400.
450.
So every grade will be how many class?
About 50.
50. One class. Every
50
grade.
is a whole grade. One class is around 25 students.
Okay, so 2 class. And
2 classes in
every
each
grade.
Yeah.
So you will arrange the time, and the student will go to the Marine Education Center to learn. So teachers actually they don't teach marine education.
They have to come with the students. And
they come with the students. Okay.
Yeah. So no, the teachers actually do not teach the marine science. We teach the marine science. Well, Maxine has left now, but myself. And the teachers, because they have to follow the curriculum, there are different ways. Like I still encourage them to go take them on field trips. Because of my schedule, I have to have 8 grades in the Marine Science Center each term, and there's 3 terms. So actually, some of our science curriculum has changed a little bit more marine science because we're in an international school. There's a little bit of flexibility with our curriculum. So the teachers themselves, they don't teach much marine science, but I can tell just from them because they have to come and support the class, right? Whenever I'm teaching, and their knowledge of marine science has increased, and they're more comfortable teaching on their own environmental science topics.
对，他们的系统是，就是他们海洋科学中心，其实在学校里面，他们成立一个中心，所以他们有2个人，一个是Maxine is from French. What is Maxine's nationality?
Oh, Italian.
Italian, yeah. 他们里面 and you have how many staff you have? It's you, Maxine, and how many staff? That's it.
It's me and Maxine.
所以他们海洋科学中心有2个职员，那一个是意大利的，然后一个是美国的，然后他们就在那边负责教海洋科学的课程，所以他们其实科学教育中心就有点像关渡国小这样子啊，只是说关渡国小的系统还是比较在于就是教育背景的人，但是他们那边就是比较是完全依照 NGSS 的课程系统，然后他们的学生就是一个礼拜一学期4小时的课程，然后他们就会排过去那边，然后直接上他们的系统这样，然后去建立他们自己的科学课程，那其他的就回到课堂里面去教这样这是他们的目前的海洋科学教育的中心。Okay, and next question is from Claire. Claire, would you like to ask yourself?
Okay.
Correct. Have 2 questions. Yeah, please.
Okay. Hi, Sarah. I'm Claire. So I appreciate that you make amazing presentations for us. And I have some questions for you. The first one is about a field trip. Yeah, I saw the presentation. You showed the pictures. The students, they stand on the sailboat. Yeah, I think that is very interesting. So is that only for activity? Yeah, I just heard that you said that you took the students to the sailboat and join some race or some activities. So if the students they interest about this activity or this kind of the field trip, so do you have any associations or clubs that join and they can learn more about they can learn about more about the boats or some kind of like like knowledges or some skills from the boats? It's like a scout club or something.
The boat is actually belongs to the school that I work at. So just like the Marine Science Center, every student goes on the boat every year. Not only for science. You said that you're an English teacher, right?
Yeah.
They also go on field trips for writing. So they'll go in performance art, engineering. They actually go out and physically sail. So there's lots of different applications. There's a really cool trip in middle school that social studies does, where they go and they pretend to be like pirates from Hong Kong and, conquering different islands, and they reenact history. They go out and they perform The Tempest, the Shakespeare play. They performed it on the Black Dolphin. So I think it's on a boat. So our boat is part of our program at the school. We also have like a lot of links to yacht clubs. The students do, a lot of the parents are part of yacht clubs and stuff like that. Did that answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, and I have the other question is about COVID-19. Yeah, COVID-19 is around the world and has the national problems around the world. So about the marine education teaching, so I saw that you just took students to a lot of like a marine science center, but if the COVID-19 is very serious in your country, so we need to stop for the class and will be online. we need to transfer all of the class to be online. So how can we to teach the marine educations online and let a student totally understand, or that let them figure out how can they do at home or do the marine education online?
Yeah, so we were actually just virtual a month ago or month and a half ago again in Hong Kong. So we've been on and off virtual the whole time. And it is difficult, obviously, to really have that like appreciation for nature when they're on their computer. But my last slide, we use a lot of pair deck. So pair deck is like basically while you're giving the presentation, the students you can ask them little questions and you can know that they're engaged. But we also have lots of activities where, you know, so I had to convert basically all of my lessons to virtual for a year. So grade 2, making observations, right? Usually they would come into the Marine Science Center and they would look at the aquariums and they would make observations. You know, this fish swims fast. This eel is swimming straight up. You know, make very simple observations. So to convert that to virtual, I found some live streams of aquariums from like the Georgia Aquarium, or even I think there's one in Japan, the Tokyo Aquarium, where they have a live stream of the aquarium so that the students can still see animals and make those observations. Some of the projects we actually sent home packs. So it's called squishy circuits. So where they make the Play-Doh animal and then they attach a light bulb and they make it light up to show like an electric animal. We would send them a little package home to them and then they could do it at home. Same for dissections, actually. We did dissections where we told them you need to go to the wet market or have your parent help you. Go to the market, get a squid, a fish. You know, you can eat it after. And then they actually will do dissections at home. We had another so you do have to kind of think outside the box. But I feel like with virtual school, you're never going to have the same engagement and you're never going to have the same effect. So it's important to like lower your expectations. That's what I found through virtual school. Like have the expectation that, okay, maybe things won't go perfectly well. Maybe they won't be as engaged, but even little things when you're online. So telling the students that they need to go outside and take pictures of 3 different plants. Okay, so then you're getting them off their computer. They're still engaging in nature, and then they can use apps like iNaturalist to learn about identification. So even if they're not near the ocean, they can still go outside and engage in nature. If their assignment is, you know, go take a picture of 3 different plants, 3 bugs, and 2 types of soil, right? And then they have to go out in nature by themselves or with a parent, and they have to do those things. So a lot of it, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of made up as I went for virtual school. So I have like my actual lesson, how can I make this virtual? And kind of just come up with tiny little things like that. A lot of the times I would try to refrain from them just watching me do experiments, but I would try to simplify any experiments we did in the classroom so that they could do it at home, right? So like water density, pouring cold water into hot water, right? So you take hot, clear water, and then you take ice cold water with a little bit of food coloring inside. And then when you pour it into the warm water, you'll see it sink, right? So that's a very simple experiment. We do it in the lab with like really big tanks and it's really fun and all the students can do it. But at home, all they need is like 2 clear glasses and some food coloring. And they can see that cold water is more dense than hot water, right? And that's how like all of the water circulates through the ocean is through that process. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff like that that I've had to make off the cuff, you know, because we would be in person one week and then back to virtual next week. And then, you know, a couple weeks of virtual. Hong Kong was very back and forth. So, you know, it was definitely challenging.
It's always challenging for everyone to teach in hybrid. And now in Taiwan, we have half in the classroom and half in the online. It's the most difficult things.
Wow,
yeah, you have 50% in the classroom and you have to teach them, but 50% is online. You know,
is that like because it's optional to come to school, or
because of the COVID-19, Taiwan is seriously recently, and there's so many students have to quarantine. And So they can start learning, but all the teachers is challenges now. Yeah, you have to calculate how many students in the classroom, how many students at home, and you have to fast to the student. You also have to fast to the internet. Yeah.
Yes.
Very difficult. All right. Thank you, Claire. And next next question is from Bonnie. And Bonnie asks question is about for 10 to 16 years old students, what kind of marine education outdoor activity can catch their eyes?
Oh, good question. So I focus mostly on primary because I thought you guys were all primary teachers. But for high school, I actually teach environmental science, microbiology, introduction to marine science, and applied marine science, because in high school they obviously have a choice, and that starts around the age 13. But any field trips that are swimming, I have found that swimming always interests the students, even if they don't think they like swimming, taking them out somewhere where they can go swimming. But I just remembered, my friend told me that lives in Taiwan that you guys can't swim in the ocean.
Yeah, you swim in the pool or in the ocean?
No, in the ocean. You can't swim in the ocean. It's very dangerous in Taiwan, I heard.
Not actually. We have some ocean pool, and it's on the beach, and teachers think it's too dangerous.
Yeah, so my friend, she's not a very good swimmer, and she just moved to Taiwan, and she said she can't swim in the ocean there. Whereas in Hong Kong, the ocean is very, very calm all the time. So you don't have to worry. There's no waves. So you don't have to worry about like getting hurt in the ocean. So yeah, that's one way, is that whenever we take kids to the beach, we just like take them to the beach and letting them know ahead of time, like how to get 10 to 16-year-olds interested is to give them a layout of the day and say, okay, we're gonna go on the bus and we're gonna go to this beach. And then you're gonna do 30 minutes of a survey, and then you're gonna have an hour of free time. And I found that 10 to 16-year-olds, if they know they're gonna have like some time for fun or some time to hang out with their friends or talk or whatever, and then you set up that time in between, they'll be more excited to go on the field trip, right? I mean, I've even put in the plan that we'll stop by 7-Eleven, and all the kids went from being like, oh man, to being like, yes, I get to go to 7-Eleven, and so little tricks like that can help get them interested, knowing that, okay, we're going to do a survey and then you guys can go swimming for 30 minutes, or we're going to do a beach cleanup, but then afterwards you get to go to, I'm going to take you to 7-Eleven and you can have ice cream, little stuff like that, which is kind of corny, but it does work. Are these your swimming holes?
Yeah, that's it's our geopark. It's our geopark, and that is it's a very safety ocean pool, and they also have the intertidal zones, and you can do some marine science lesson plan right there, and you can do some surveys of the microplastic, and also can see some phytoplankton, and they have a lesson plan of fishing lesson plan。 这个是和平岛公园的海水泳池。那刚刚讲 Sarah 刚刚有讲说最吸引人注意的就是那个去海边游泳。我觉得大家可以多安排去这个地方，因为他们有友善种子公司，他们会安排海洋教育课程，所以可以让学生下去真正下水去玩。那这个是很安全的海水泳池，大概2米深吧，然后你就可以下去，然后安排这些课程，然后真的去在下面有小丑鱼，然后有很多东西，对，就大家可以去这个地方这样子。Okay, so that is close to our campus, and next time you come to Taiwan, and every morning a lot of people swimming there. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a lot of fishes in the pool because it's an open ocean, but it's very safety. They have a safety guard, and it's in the park, so including the marine science course and including the water activities. It's pretty good. So I encourage all the teachers can arrange the time to there.
Yeah. And do you guys have WWF or the Nature Conservancy?
We have we don't have the office here, but we have some NGOs connection with them, but most of the NGOs in Taiwan, they don't really support the budget. They need our donation. So So we need to donate money to them. It's not they support the budget because our government have pretty more budget for the outdoor activities. Like Bonnie asked the question. Bonnie have a lot of budget. Bonnie 是金主，you have a lot of budget to support teachers to take out to marine education. Actually, we have pretty more budget, and the NGO it's kind of be they don't really support the education programs, and they do their own program, but they don't
Well,
really support. Yeah.
If anyone would like, if you Ray, you can give them my email. If
Yep.
anyone needs help with like lesson planning, a field trip, I have loads of already made lesson plans and worksheets and field sheets, you know, to fill out data in the field. Yeah, if you want to send me an email, I can help anyone if they want to plan a field trip.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can share your emails and they can all interact with you. I also share your Facebook, and yeah, they can follow you, and yeah, and you can interact with Facebook. And every time the speakers come into the classroom and make a tight connections is pretty important because they have problems and they can interact with you, and you can know more friend, and they know you, and go to Hong Kong, you come to Taiwan. Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Next.
want to go diving with I don't remember her name, but
Yeah. Next question is from Yuding. Yuding, would you like to ask question by yourself, or I can ask for you? Yuding. Please.
No more questions for me because I just got the answer from the previous questions, and I just want to thank you. You know, you just providing us so many easy to hand-on activities and so many useful websites for us to connect to use in the future. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. So Yijun have a questions about where did you go diving, and where did you go snorkeling?
In Hong Kong or in the world?
Yeah. 一君，你是问台湾还是问香港？
香港或是世界各地都可以。
Okay, in Hong Kong or in the world, which one is you prefer to go?
I started diving in North Carolina, where I'm from. It wasn't very good. It's very, very deep, very cold, and there's no reefs or anything. It's just shipwrecks. So quite dangerous. And then I went to Cambodia and I did 6 months of diving. It was basically like a diving marine conservation internship. Did loads of diving every day. And then now I went to Borneo and went diving near Sipadan, which was incredible. And I've been to Thailand diving, which is also amazing. And I think in the Mediterranean, yeah, I went on one dive in France. Not as good as Asia or Indo-Pacific. And then in Hong Kong, the diving is so-so. Maybe it ranges from 2 to maybe 7 meters visibility, so not very good visibility. And everything is very, very shallow in Hong Kong. So all the coral reefs are super shallow. So half the time you're diving and your tank is coming out at the surface. So it's Hong Kong is, I love diving, so I dive in Hong Kong, but it's not the best. I can't wait to come to Taiwan.
Okay, I show you. This is nearby our campus. This is nearby our campus. It's called Secret Garden, and you can go diving just like that. Pretty more fishes and the sea fence and the coral. And this is the conservation zones, and it's walk about driving about 5 minutes from our campus. So a lot of people go diving right there.
That's amazing. Yeah, Hong Kong has no marine protected areas.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Hong Kong have some marine protection area. Have some,
Well,
but
they're not actually protected. They're just yeah.
yeah, I
They
know.
just
I
call
know
it
this.
like a marine. They have a marine park,
Yeah.
right? They call it a marine park, but they're
Okay.
not protected. Like you can still fish there. You can still go there. Like they're not actually protected from anything.
Yeah.
So
So Taiwan's nearby our campus, the site is pretty beautiful, and
that's
it's really a lot of
incredible.
fishes. Yeah. So it's transparency. The water is very clear. So a lot of divers from Hong Kong, they come to Taiwan for divings, and you have to come. And
I will.
that's 2 years ago, and we have it's Dive for Love. Do you know the NGO Dive for Love from
Yes,
Shenzhen?
that's
Yeah.
right. You're in
Yeah,
Shenzhen.
yeah, they come to Taiwan and to teaching the lesson plans in our school, and we arrange the school, and they come to the classroom, and we also take them to diving to see the coral. Yeah, so
Amazing.
it's pretty good, and Taiwan is very suitable to organize the marine education field trip for the teachers. So that's why we discuss about the training and education. Not only Hong Kong and Taiwan have beautiful coastline.
Yes.
Okay. Next question. It's from next question. Pedro. Bonnie have another question. No. Bonnie want to share activities in September. And Pedro 你要自己讲吗？你要参加什么活动？来，让你宣传一下。Bonnie have
我可以用中文，我可以用中文说吗？
可以。Bonnie have a activity to announce. Yeah, marine education. Yeah. 来，请。
好，谢谢老师给我的机会。那个，因为我们今年刚好有拿到一个计划，就是有关于水域安全防溺的计划，那是一个中央的一个计划，它是今年首度，就是它有找几个县市去做申办。那基隆市这一次就是就是特别有去申请这样的计划，然后就是它最主要是想要针对就是学生对于水上安全的一个认知来做一个宣导跟一个活动的一个示范这样子。那这次呢，我这边就是特别就是选了一个和平岛的这样的一个地点，就像老师刚才讲的，和平岛它是有一个很不错的一个海水的泳池这样子，然后我们可能会在那边去做一个类似像水安知识活动的闯关的一个方式，然后来引导学生对于水域安全知识的了解这样子，嘿，然后也呼应刚才那个 Sarah 刚才说的，就是他觉得游泳不是很危险，可事实上就是在台湾或是在我们基隆这地方，即便我们是三面环海，但是我们都一直被教育变成是溺水是危险的，然后就是每一年都要被考核说，就是县市端有没有就是学生溺水等等之类，我觉得这样就会一直加深大家对于水的一个恐惧这样子。那我想说借这机会，因为这个活动是不用钱的，那大概会办在9月初这样子。那我会再发公文，那如果大家有看这个，麻烦大家可以多多参与，因为这是全程免费的。谢谢。
或者我有2个建议啊，第一个建议是让门槛降低，第二个是让专业的人来。也就是说，办研习都把它办得太困难了，也就是说，没有这个讲师，你根本没办法办下一场活动，这是大部分研习所面临到的问题。所以不用去找超厉害的讲师，而是说你把这个系统建立好，那老师他以后他还可以再带他的同学来，不然都是教师研习完，老师根本无法复制啊。这意思是说，例如说和平岛公园这个，你就带大家去，然后这一次你如果以后你要带来，你就找谁？找和平岛公园的谁联络，然后他们有那个友善种子公司，就可以跟友善种子公司合作，那你就支持他们这个经费就可以了。就是例如说他们一次，所以你就支持他们经费，让他们能够去办理这样的活动。那老师他参加完就很不错，我下次我就是跟你申请经费，然后带同学来，老师都不用再负责什么要教水域安全、要备课什么，因为你要准备，老师根本没办法再准备。好，这是给你的建议啊。
好，那老师不好意思，你等一下那个下课后可以给我那个就是和平岛那个窗口联络人的那个
没问题，这个我们都有跟他们做合作。OK。Thank you, Bonnie. And next question is about from Zhenqi. And Zhenqi asks questions about after the marine education lesson plan, would you like to organize a performance exhibition and invite their parent to join for the performance exhibition? You are mute, Sarah. You are mute. Yeah.
Sorry. So is the question, do we invite the parents?
Yeah. Do you organize the performance exhibition from their final performance presentation, and do you invite their parent to join?
Yes. So for high school, we always have we either film their presentations, or if it's virtual, they have to film themselves, and we'll always send that to the parents. For COVID, we can't have any parents on campus, even if we're in session. So it's been a bit difficult. We always do virtual type presentations. When we have the summer courses, so it's a 5-day camp. On the last day, the parents are always invited to come in and see what the students did for the week. The kids will usually have some type of like field notebook or poster that they can show their parents, and they do like a little presentation about what they did that week. But yeah, for the school-wide exhibitions, the parents either are always joining virtually after COVID. But before COVID, we would have STEAM night, which is where all the students would do some type of science project or art project, and all the parents would come and see all the exhibitions. So yeah, we do invite the parents a lot, but not as much since COVID.
Okay, now it's 10:29, and it's a very good time that Sarah, you share your experience, and that is totally for us. It's American education system in Asia. I think it's very close because Hong Kong actually it's just 1 hour, 1.5 hours flight from Taiwan, and we have a lot of flights. I think after this COVID, and we can visit Hong Kong, and yeah, it's very pity that we originally wanted to organize the workshop of EMEA, but I believe that we will organize the next time, and we also expect next EMEA conference can organize in Hong Kong. Do you know that? We expect you can organize that, and I have already connected to Kelvin, and Kelvin have already tried to integrate the resources in Hong Kong, and we hope next EMEA conference will be in Hong Kong, and we can go to Hong Kong to really,
That'd be amazing.
yeah, really
Especially
experience.
Calvin can help because he has the language, right? It's a little bit difficult for me because I don't speak Cantonese as far as like booking places for functions.
Yeah.
But as far as getting all the teachers together, I have a great network of marine educators, NGOs, professors, part of the Hong Kong Marine Protection Alliance. So already at least 50 people interested in coming for just from Hong Kong. And then they can network across their networks in Asia as well. So yeah, that would be a very popular event, I think.
Yeah, because Hong Kong's internationalized, it's pretty good because language is not a big problem, but for Taiwan, bilingual policy is a challenge for most of the teachers, but this is a way we have to go, and
yes,
we have to go international, and we can collect more interaction with the global education. And could you give the educators, give the teachers final words to encourage them to learn about marine education or teach marine education?
Oh, I actually have my favorite quote is my background. So in the end, we all will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught.
Okay.
That's a very famous quote. So the more that what you love will translate to what your students love. So as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying your life, that your students will see that. And if you can love nature and love the ocean, the students will see that, and they will in turn love the environment and love the ocean.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. And can we make a group photos, and please turn on your webcam, 打开你们的镜头. And I hope these lectures can be a very good connection with you and every people. It's a key point. Today we're talking about the golden trail of your life. This golden trail is you join their life and they join your life. And I hope that in the future, and we can visit you in Hong Kong, and you come to Taiwan, and that's further cooperations. And I believe the international education will be very important. All right. So let's take a group photo, and please see your webcam. All right. 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Once again. Hold on. Okay. Please turn on your webcam. Okay. 3, 2, 1. It's good. All right. Thank you, Sarah. That's very good. And let's keep in touch. All right.
Yes, thank you. It was nice to meet everyone. Thank you for listening. And yeah, message me if you ever want any help.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. 好，那我们休息5分钟后回来，我们7分钟，10点40分我们回来我们的毕业典礼哦。好，休息一下。